Hello, hello, hello. Let me check my volume. Hang on. Okay, I think we are good. I am starting a few minutes early, so don't worry, you're not late, but welcome to my Longarm studio. I have a fun Christmas themed quilt that I want to get done. So I am using a pantograph. So I'll be standing at the back of the machine following the pattern, and we're just going to experiment. I don't know if I'll be able to talk because I don't have a lapel mic. I'm checking the sound. So you'll see me walking around a lot. You may see the back of my head as I walk in front of the camera where it's set up over there so that you have a view of the quilt. But I think I'm ready to go. And I just want to give you a different perspective of my quilting life because I invested in this Longarm about 18 years ago. And I do quilt for customers, and occasionally I work on my own projects. So I'd like to mix in some of my Longarm work on these WIP Wednesdays and see how you guys like it. I do have my iPad, so I've got lots of devices here that I think I should be able to keep track of the comments, but I'll get set up and we'll see how it goes. Drop your name and location in the comments, and you guys can chat amongst yourselves, share the projects you're working on, how your holiday prep is going. But thank you so much for joining me, and hi to all of our replay viewers. We're so glad you are here. Oh my gosh, it's been a week of trying to talk and get things going here in the mid to late part of December. It feels like everybody's already into New Year's planning, and we still have the major celebrations going on. So let's get to it. Let me log in over here. Thumbs up if you can see me and hear me. Yeah, let me know. I don't see anybody in the comments yet. So please let me know how the sound is on your end, if I am projecting enough with my teacher voice. And we will get this going as well. Just checking out what is going on. Let me see here. Like I said, trying to see if I can get the stream up here on my iPad. Yes, it looks like I can. Hello, Paula Joe. Okay, so I think our sound is good and we're set up. So I can monitor the chat here in between passes, and you see the camera, this nice, pretty cardinal fabric. My mother-in-law adores cardinals, so this is a Christmas present for her. And a quick demo. There is a table here behind the machine, and I have got a paper pattern similar to this all laid out. And there's a laser on my machine that I'm going to watch as it follows the lines on the pattern. So that's how a pantograph works. It gives an edge-to-edge design across the whole quilt. And I've got a kind of a snowflake pattern here ready to go. That's what I was doing ahead of time. So it does, this is one of those instances where it helps to have long arms to work at the long arm. But I'm going to start here. I basted my quilt top to the batting and the backing, and I'm all lined up on my first row. So I just reach over there and get my needle in place, and now I am ready to go for the first pass. That first edge gets kind of tricky as we are right close to the edge of the fabric. I kind of have to watch what I'm doing there. I will do one row and then I'll pause and talk about what's going on. So go ahead and leave your comments, questions. Enjoy the sound of stitching. Okay, I am. Oh, well, as the church lady would say, isn't that special? I got myself all tangled up on the edge of this quilt because I guess I didn't have my alignment right. I was off the edge and I quilted my needle into my quilt. So let's see if I can. You know, how does that even happen? Wow. I thought I had everything lined up so that I wouldn't go off the edge, but obviously I didn't. So I need to pay attention on this top row. I'm trying to snip the threads there that okay, almost. Okay. Whew. Okay, so I will have to. It's not wanting to pick up the bobbin thread now. Come on. There we go. Okay. Okay, so I tacked my needle back down in place from where I sewed over the hopping foot. And now my laser light should be lined up pretty close to where the pattern left off, and I will continue with that snowflake. I'm going to try and get across the whole row, and then I will check the comments for questions and continue with this project. Paula Jo, I probably quilted for, oh gosh, I don't even remember. I'm thinking of like long enough to do 4 or 5 charity quilts and my own projects. And then I just, you know, put my shingle out there. I had friends in my quilt guild that were willing to give me their work. I quilted a lot for my mom. I did a Judy Niemeyer quilt, I want to say like 8 months after I got my long arm. So I wasn't keeping very good records at the beginning, but you do a lot of pantographs and you get that muscle memory. It's like sketching. I always tell people to sketch and then stitch. If you can draw something, you can probably guide the machine to get going. So like I said, at this point, I've been doing this for 18 years, so I'm not as intimidated by it. Okay, I think I can watch the edge of my fabric now. Okay, I'm up here close to the edge, so I'm gonna hope I don't make another boo-boo. I altered the design a little bit there on the edge so that I don't have any more mishaps. Okay, we are done with the first row, the first pass. And with an all over pattern like this, you just have to choose a color and understand that it's going to show on those light areas. But this was busy enough fabric that I thought I could get away with the green on top of the white. And I think it looks really pretty there on the dark fabric as well. I thought a red would have been too bright. I like the idea there of the green in the background. And I am going to just do some free motion. I need to put like one little star snowflake something in this corner that didn't get picked up, obviously, by the way the pattern moves across the quilt. And I'm just going to run my hand underneath, make sure that all the stitches feel smooth. If you've got bad tension, it'll feel real gritty and bumpy. So for some reason, my chat is not showing up on my iPad. So we'll just turn that off. I don't need to be messing with that if it's not going to work. And again, I need to get to the other corner of my machine. So I'll be off camera for just a minute, but I will keep talking to you guys. I need to, like I said, fill in one corner of the design, and then I'm going to advance the quilt. And so we may be able to start seeing the backing fabric here in a minute. So I'm going to cut my thread off to the right hand side of my quilt. And then I can just fill in with, I'll just put a little star here in the corner. And that just gives a little bit of stitching in that corner. And then we can move on. So when you are advancing your quilt with a pantograph, you line up with one of the designs that you've already printed or already stitched, and the laser follows it on the pattern at the back. So I can look at my table and I can watch that laser light, and there are markings on the pattern that tell me when it's lined up for the next row. So I need to unclamp from this side. And then there are rollers on this right-hand edge. I'm going to carefully advance. The needle is down, so it's pulling the whole quilt along with it. And I'm watching the laser at the back until it's lined up with the pattern. And then I am in place for the next row. So needle up. And I wanted a flannel backing. This red is a little brighter than the red. You know, this was more of a burgundy tone in the quilt, but that's fine. And then I float my tops, which means this top edge is not attached to the machine. It was just basted on to the quilt. And I'm feeling some puckers there, so we will get everything smoothed out. I like to float the top. I like that top to be loose for just this reason. I can fold it back and get everything smoothed out. And that wrinkle will come out when we stretch. A little bit of fullness in that border, but with this open pattern, I think will be fine there. Again, this is not a show quilt. This is just going to be a couch lap quilt for my mother-in-law. And add our clamps back in. Keep everything in position there. And family coming home in the background. Reposition that too. Some of those wrinkles. Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking at this top row of snowflakes. They look a little funky there, but we'll be okay. So now I've got my pattern marked with my starting point. Oh, I forgot one thing. I like to baste the edges down as I advance the quilt. So just add I like to get nice big repeats on my pantograph. That way you don't have to advance the quilt as much. So just that a little bit. No computer on this one. This is a Gammill Classic Plus. So it does have a stitch regulator, but everything else is hand guided. Okay, now we're ready to go on row 2. And I'm thinking I will only need 4 rows on this quilt. Okay, so that's about where the pattern starts. Take a few tacking stitches to begin and follow my pattern. Again, I have to adjust this first one because I'm right on the edge of my fabric. So I'll slide over. And then I'm all on the fabric and I'm trying to go as smoothly and evenly as I can around the design. This actual design is a little more challenging because of those points. Okay, and that was all the time it took to do the second row. And you can see kind of how the design nests. This was the second row, and it just comes up in between the two parts that had been sewn in the first row. So I'm thinking that is looking really good. And come around to the front. You get a lot of steps in when you are doing a pantograph from the back. So I just draw the bobbin thread up and cut those threads. The one thing is that my neck gets stiff from always looking over my left shoulder when I am doing pantographs. And we are ready to advance. So again, I choose a point on my design that I can see on my reference marks on the pattern that's on the back of the machine. And then I slowly advance everything because that needle is down, so I don't want to move fast and potentially cause a hole. But now that my laser shows me I'm lined up on the top, I can firm up the bottom rail and we are in position for the next row. And this is always the moment of truth for a long armor is when the design starts showing on the back roller, because now I can see my stitching design. So that's like if your tension is messed up, you may roll the quilt up and go, oh no, where's the seam ripper? But everything's looking good on this one. Hi, Tasha. So glad you could stop in for a few minutes. I am the last minute gal here trying to get a Christmas present done on December 18th. I just smooth that out from the middle, and the side border got awfully wavy. We will just let it be wavy. Hopefully it doesn't pucker or anything or cause me issues. I mean, I already had the disaster at the beginning. So those of you that didn't see the oops on the first row can go back and watch that blooper. So the actual stitching, when you're working on a long arm, goes pretty fast. But shh, don't tell anyone. This takes hours and hours. I'm teasing. It's, you know, there are quilts that you put in those long hours doing detailed designs, but this one is just a quick and easy, fun. My thread didn't catch. For some reason, sometimes it doesn't like to actually form a stitch. Hold the thread. Basting down the edges before I start my next row. Didn't catch either. So I have my start lined up here. I've got it marked on the pattern. I just find a spot right on the edge of my fabric to hide those threads. And then I can pick right up stitching. There's a little bit of open space in there, but I think we will be okay. And stray thread out there. You can see there's just a little bit of bubbliness there where those borders weren't exactly flat. I can remember I was working on this quilt at a late night sew-in and obviously did not measure carefully enough and get those borders on exactly right. But you know what? It's handmade. It's not going to be perfect, and I'm sure it will be well used and well loved. That's the good thing about quilting is even if it's pieced awfully and things don't line up and there's bubbles and pleats and all that kind of stuff, it still works as a nice cozy blanket for people. So it provides some warmth and comfort, which is its intended purpose. But that is long arm quilting. So any questions for me, go ahead and put them in the chat. And I hope you have enjoyed this kind of casual, laid back visual background sewing noise as I work and get things done here on this WIP Wednesday. That's we always want to be making progress and getting things close to a finish. So Paula had asked back at the beginning, I do keep track in this notebook of all the quilts I have worked on in 2024. I put my first one on at the end of January. I have, oh yeah, I was working on something over the holidays last year that carried into the new year. So I started with my first one at the end of January, and these cardinals are number 19 for the year. So a little more than one a month. Let's see where my dates go back to in this book. Did I start? Oh my gosh. This does, the first quilt I have listed here was in 2013. I did a quilt of valor in December of 2013, and I made some sketches for some stuff. And then May of 2014, I did 2 quilts for my cousin's little boys. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize this had 10 years of quilt documentation there. Oh, fun. But that's my record keeping. Okay, so advancing the quilt. Again, I find a spot on the stitching line that corresponds to a line on the pattern. I watch my laser light as I advance carefully because the needle is down. And then when it gets to the registration mark on the pantograph, I know I'm in the right place. And let's see, I've got some bubbliness on the backing, but again, I think I don't see any pleats or tucks, and you may be able to see that little bit of bubbliness on the backing. So again, I float my top so that I can just pull that top back, check the batting, get some of these stray threads out so they don't show through on the white. And smooth that back down. I was talking about perfectionism with a gal at work today, and quilting is definitely an area where I can let a lot of stuff go. And if it was something that would bother you, then you can fix it on your own quilt. But these borders are going to be a little bit wavy, and we're going to throw it in the wash and let it crinkle up some more, and we will be just fine. There are some tricks when you are doing free motion, not following a pantograph, that you can ease around some of that fullness, depending on the pattern, the stitch pattern that you put onto your quilt. I'm just checking for some pleats because I felt some bubbles there in the batting, but we're good. I'm not bump into the camera there. Okay, one more row and then it will be dinner time here for the True Blue crew. And there my bobbin thread ran out. I was wondering if that would happen. I didn't have a second bobbin wound for this project, but I will do that after dinner, wind another bobbin, and then I can just pick up my motif right there to finish this quilt in plenty of time for Christmas. So let me know if you are working on any last minute Christmas presents. I hope everyone has a wonderful week, and I am going to hang out for the next 2 Thursdays with Tasha of Tasha Quilts. So you'll see me in the comments over there because our WIP Wednesday falls on the holidays here, Christmas next week and New Year's Day the week after. But please watch the announcements on the community tab because I think I'm going to do a special live stream on New Year's Day. I just have to figure out my family schedule and make that happen. But I will be sending information about that out on my newsletter as well. So hop over to truebluequilts.com, sign up for the newsletter, and get all the information about the New Year's Day live stream. So have a wonderful evening. I'll see everybody soon.